Hiya, it's another update on my PIC project. This one's going to be about the Sunday Assembly, which is an organisation who run church-style services but without a faith in God. And that's not to say that they're exclusively atheist or exclusively agnostic, because anyone of any religious persuasion is welcome in their meetings, which is something they stress and something I'd like to stress as well. I went there yesterday. It was the first meeting in Oxford that they've done. They've got 8 or over, just they're setting up their 9th congregation across the world, and they're doing very well. It's something I'm quite interested in, because they're trying to replicate the community spirit and community feel that you get, or I found that you get in ordinary churches, in Methodists and Church of England, that type of thing. And to do that, they're trying to use the same formats. They're using public singing in the form of well-known pop songs to get people happy and cheery and feel like they're singing together as one voice. And they're also using readings, not from holy texts obviously, but they're reading classical poetry or self-written poetry. There's also a section called Doing Our Best, which is a reading by one member of the congregation about a story from their life. In this case, it was a guy who used to be a maths teacher talking about a pupil that he used to teach, who he was saying he was trying his best to get him to love maths. He only had a month to teach this pupil, and he was trying to get this pupil to love maths, and all the while he was saying this, he was spinning this pen around his finger, and I thought I was one of the only people who picked up on it, but evidently not. When he said, at the end of the term, I felt I'd failed the boy. I felt that if I'd had a bit more time I could have won him round, but we really only made baby steps. But at the end of the term, he came up to me and he said, Sir, and I thought he was going to say, thanks for teaching me that maths is good. But he said, look what I can do, sir. And he spun the pen round on his finger, just like he was doing. And everyone laughed, because everyone had been quietly noticing that this guy was just flicking this pen around his finger the entire time. It's a simple thing, but the message of it was that he hadn't recognised that the boy was doing his best to learn. He just wasn't learning what was being taught. It's trying to mimic the parable element of conventional Christian religious services, and I think it served well. It was more of a comic break than anything else, but no, it worked quite well, and I'm sure with a lot of commitment from the congregation, if that's what they want to call themselves, or the community, then they can make it work. They can actually achieve their goals of getting people to commit their lives to this service. I mean, there already is a very regular service in London. It used to be once a month, and now it's going up to fortnightly, and they want to get a weekly service going on every Sunday with guest speakers and different plays or poems that are being read. I think all power to them. I think it's a great thing to want to do. In terms of my project, as you might know, I've been looking at the different styles of performance that people have been doing for regular church services. I've been to Methodist, Baptist, Church of England services, URC services, moving on to Catholicism and to other religions as well, other lines of religion. And throughout a lot of those, I found that the pace of the ordinary religious services is an awful lot slower. I think this might just be a bit of a pet theory. I'll see how it works out, but I think it's because they've had a long time to perfect the format to it, and to get members of the congregation used to the way that a church service is run. So there's no need to be grabbing people's attention all the time. There's no need to keep people as interested or as pulled along on a fast paced whimsical fun ride. That's probably a bit that's probably a silly thing to say, but I found that at the Sunday Assembly the opposite was the case. Sanderson Jones, who's the organizer, the main organizer, and a stand-up comic, he was running the service in the same way that a minister would in terms of format, but in terms of the way he delivered it and the content, it was more like comparing a stand-up comedy show, which was no bad thing, to be honest, because as it was the first meeting in Oxford, there was a lot of people who weren't really sure what was going on. There was a few older people there who certainly weren't won over by it in the first instance, but grew to like it as the session went on. And Sanderson, I think, was noticing this and trying to get people to go along with it in a really sort of energetic, happy way, which you wouldn't normally see in a regular church service. And it worked. It worked for the most part, and I was strung along as well. I really enjoyed it. There was a couple of talks as well given. There's a man from the mindfulness organisation. I will put a note of what that organisation is actually called. I'm sorry, I can't remember the full name of it, but he was talking about paying attention. He was talking about living in the moment, which at the very start sounded a bit like a pyramid scheme, but he gave us all out little foil packets, which he was asking us to really pay attention to the sensory experiences of. He was saying, hold the foil packet in your hand, there it is, and feel the weight of it, now unwrap it, feel the textures, and what was in it? It was a raisin. There was a raisin for every single person in there, and he was telling us to squash it and put it next to our ears and think, oh, what can we hear? Really take our time with it, savouring it, smelling it, and then holding it in our mouth like that, keeping it, holding it between our teeth, and then very slowly biting down. And really, he was trying to get us to savour the moments that we had with this raisin. And at the end of it, one man actually put his hand up when asked for his feelings about the exercise. He said, I actually fell in love with the raisin. I felt a deep sense of grief when I bit into it and swallowed it. I wanted it back, which was quite a funny moment, I guess. But it does also speak to some truth in what he was saying, that that he was trying to get people to appreciate life, appreciate the short time that they have. And I think that's the main focus of the organisation, is an appreciation of life while we live it, and not, in Sanderson's words, not having heaven and hell to get people through the door, but having people who really want to enjoy life and getting them to appreciate the wonders of just being alive. And that's their mission. I'm not sure that everyone there was absolutely won over, will come again, completely committed to the cause, because I've been thinking about this as well, that it does take some time and commitment to get the community atmosphere, to get the personability that you have with a lot of churches, traditional churches across the country. I found that most of the time the people in the congregation are people who've been coming for years and who know each other often as neighbours and best friends. Now, the Sunday Assembly, obviously it was the first one. With time, they're getting more and more regular. They're getting more and more returning members. I'm going to go back on December the 1st, which is the next one. just to see how the atmosphere's changed. I want to find out whether just viewing this sort of entertainment, just viewing it as entertainment, does subliminally give you these messages, or whether you really have to commit yourself to the performance in the same way that religious people commit themselves to a certain church. And I will return to this subject later on, because I don't think I've quite made myself clear about what I think of in terms of how much performance goes into it, how much entertainment's what balance needs to be struck in the world of religion and in the world of the Sunday Assembly. I will write a blog post on it to just hopefully clear a few things up. I just wanted to get my first thoughts down on video and just see what everyone thought. At the moment I've still not got any feedback on this, but we'll see. Hopefully things will pick up, and hopefully I'm not just running down a bit of a cul-de-sac here. But I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I'll keep going to these church meetings, meeting up with ministers and finding out their opinions. I'll write it all down. I'll write it up. Try and make it as interesting as possible, because I know for a lot of people, talking about the performance aspects of being a minister is probably not the most exciting and thrilling fun ride you can go on. So I'll try and make it as entertaining as possible. We'll see how far I can do that. We'll see how well it goes. And yeah, some updates coming again soon. So I'll see you later.